this won't affect the price. Yeah, brother. I mean, hopefully you stick around long enough to see what I think about it. And then, listen, dude, what I ask is that you listen to my perspective and what, because I'll go into it. What does it mean for price? I will go into it. Listen to what I have to say, and by the time I'm done presenting my information, you're more than welcome to come up and continue to challenge my ideas. I'm very open to opening up this live tonight in the panel, and you can come up, take notes, listen to what I say, take notes, and throw it back in my face. When I'm done with this panel, when I'm done with this rant, by all means, I'll open it up. You're more than welcome to request to come on as a guest, and you can challenge my ideas if you still believe that. If I can't seem to convince you, thank you, man. If I can't seem to convince you on my thought process, I welcome anybody to come up and challenge my ideas. I do believe, not tomorrow, it's possible, but it opens the door for price appreciation. Let's dive a little bit more into what exactly is ISO 222 and what does it mean for cryptocurrencies? ISO 222 and what does this mean for cryptocurrencies? Tomorrow is a very big day. And I don't know about you, but this is something that I've been waiting years for. I've been researching this for years. And when you look at the charts, I know people are scared. I know Twitter and TikTok is full of fear. And I know you see people panicking, people crying, people debating, they're fighting, they're doubting everything that they thought they knew. I'm going to tell you something. The markets don't crash when things are ending. The markets crash when things are starting, when things are beginning. And right now, as bad as the prices are, as the noise gets louder, as everyone starts to lose sight of what's actually happening, the financial system is quietly completing the biggest upgrade in our lifetime. In our lifetime. I'm talking about the new language of money, the new rails, the new messages, the new standards, the new rules, the new global infrastructure, and you're alive to witness all of it. Not only that, but you knew about it before the crowds. Most people don't even know how to spell. ISO 222. They certainly don't know what it means. They don't know that banks have been building towards this for a decade. They don't know that this is the next foundation for everything that comes next, but hopefully most of you guys do. So today I'm going to break down this entire thing of ISO 222 because tomorrow is a big day. And I'm going to remind you why you're here and what's coming. So at the very fundamentals of it all, ISO 222 it's basically a new language of money. It's not a blockchain. It's not a token. It's not a crypto. It's not a coin. ISO 222 is a global standard. It's a upgrade. They're completely rewriting the entire financial system. Every major bank, every central bank, every payment network, every clearinghouse, every settlement rail, they're all moving into this one format. It's one structure. It is one unilateral messaging system. And the old system that we're moving out of, it's outdated, it's slow, it's messy, it certainly can't carry enough data, and it doesn't even work with the modern systems. So the world is switching. And this is the part that we're focusing on. When you change the language of money, you change the entire system that the money runs on. Okay? This is going to be the foundation for tokenization. It's going to be the foundation for real-time settlements. It's going to be the foundation for CBDCs. It's going to be the foundation for interoperability. It's going to be the foundation for blockchain integration. It's going to be the foundation for the new global rails. It's literally a software upgrade that lets every financial highway connect to one another. It's not small. It's not small. It's not even optional. This is a mandate. Okay, this is the new standard that's going to be used for trillions of dollars every single day. And tomorrow, it becomes fully activated worldwide. So in the last 100 years, there's only been a handful of moments in time where the world financial system has changed. And we're talking about moments when banks got rewired or upgraded, where the governments got rewired or upgraded. The systems actually merged together, and quite literally, at the simplest form of it, money evolved. And every single time that we've seen the world financial system changed, it created a world. It created a new class of winners. Very simply, it created a new class of wealthy people. T, thank you. It created a new class of early believers, and right now, I believe you as well as me, we're in one of those moments. And it's not because you held crypto. It's not because you're smart or you got lucky. It's because you're paying attention to the infrastructure, while everyone else is chasing price. They're trying to get rich quick. And when the system changes, the people who understood the systematic changes were the ones who always won. So if you don't understand this part, then you're not going to understand anything that comes after this. I'm going to try to explain ISO 222 to you guys the same way that I would maybe explain it to somebody who knew nothing about it. Not because you're dumb, but because when you do try to research it, they always seem to overcomplicate everything, and they quite honestly confuse people on purpose. Excuse me. So the money system that we all grew up with, right? The bank transfers, the wires, the payments, the checkbooks, the delays, the errors, the waiting 3 days for your paycheck, the business and the business hours only. All of that was built on a code from 1970. 1970. And the world financial system is running on it's running on technology older than the internet. It's older than smartphones, it's older than online banking, and it's certainly much older than crypto. And the message format, the way that banks talk to each other, right? This is essentially the way that banks can talk to each other. It's basically like a little tiny text message with very limited data or very limited information inside of it. It's almost like the comparison of having flip phones while everyone else in the world is using iPhones. And we can witness some of the problems, the friction points in today's financial system, right? The checks bounce, the transfers get lost, the banks are making mistakes, everything is fucking slow. The fraud, right? Banks still get a lot of fraud, and somehow it slips through the cracks. The cross-border payments, they still take forever. The fees are insane, and settlement still takes days. It's simply because it's slow because the language or the code that they use is fucking old. It's 50 years old. And the biggest players in the world understand that you can't build a modern world on outdated communication. So they decided to fix it. I want you to try to think of ISO 222 as an upgrade that allows all of the banks and all of the payment systems and all of the settlement networks to talk to each other in a very clean, fast, modern language. So as Be The Change said, this upgrade replaces the old MT messages, which is from the 1970s, and it's replacing it in with the new MX messages. And as they transition from MT into MX, you can now have a world where the financial information can transfer automatically, right? The settlement is much faster. There's a lot more accuracy. You're able to track the payments in real time. You have instant compliance checks. There's much less errors. And the exciting part for it all, this is where cryptocurrency gets tied into it, is it has support for smart contracts. It has support for tokenized assets. It has support for digital currencies. It has support for DLT technology. ISO 222 is built to connect with digital assets and blockchain. Okay, that's not a conspiracy. It was built like this from the design. And this is why, as investors, we get so excited about it. because we're witnessing crypto change in real time, right? Crypto used to be all about meme coins and speculation and chasing the pumps and kind of just hoping that you picked the right animal coin and got lucky. But now, this is the confirmation that crypto is merging in with the banking system, and ISO 222 is the gateway for that. So before ISO 222, crypto was basically outside of the financial system. Now that ISO 222 is coming in, crypto and digital assets can plug into the financial system. One of them was basically watching the financial system, and the other one got integrated in as a tool. And we're coming to a point where crypto is going to stop just becoming an investment, and it's going to become the infrastructure. And I'll tell you why that's more important. Because when the biggest financial giants in the world start to use digital assets for utility, this is exactly where the winners get separated from the losers. So think about this for a second, because it's so fucking exciting. When we switch to ISO 222, right? Swift is upgrading their entire global financial network. The Federal Reserve's FedNow uses ISO 222 from the start. Fedwire is migrating into ISO 222. The DTCC uses ISO 222 for clearing. The Bank of England settles with ISO 222. The European Central Bank uses ISO 222. Every major bank in the world, JP Morgan, Bank of America, you name it, they all have to comply. Stablecoin issuers are converting their messages into ISO 222. Digital currencies are being built with ISO 222 roadmaps or basically highways. Tokenization systems use ISO 222 as their foundation. This is the entire global financial system rewiring right now, and you're here to witness it. This is the biggest upgrade to money since the internet, and you're watching it unfold while everyone else is fucking asleep partying on a Friday night. The best part of it all is that most people still don't understand the importance of this change until after it happens. They're going to wake up one day and they're going to wonder, why is money moving faster now? They're going to wonder, why are cross-border payments cheaper? Why do banks settle instantly? Why is tokenization everywhere? What is tokenization? They're going to be wondering why real-time FX markets are normalized. And they're not going to know that it's ISO 222. They're not going to know that it's digital rails. They're not going to know that it's a new system, but you fucking will. You are the early bird gets the worm. And now that we've kind of have a baseline for what ISO 222 is, I kind of want to move on to the part that I think everybody is waiting for, is the utility assets, right? The utility tokens, the assets that people are arguing about every single day without actually understanding the real reasons why that matters, right? This is your XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, QNT, IOTA, Algorand, you name it. And I'm going to try to break this down for people, and I'll get into the price, what I believe could happen to the price in a little bit. I just want to try my best to provide you guys with the facts, the connections, and the proof that these technologies actually touch the systems that are moving into ISO 222. So before we break down the proof of each asset and what it means for the price, I need you guys to understand something, okay? Utility is use cases, utility is use cases, okay? As more people start to use it, it increases the volume. As the volume increases, it increases the demand. As the demand increases, it increases the price. That's it, okay? As utility increases, it increases the uses. As uses increases, it increases the volume. As volume increases, it increases the demand. And as demand increases, the price will increase. Utility tokens are not lottery tickets. They're not fucking, scratch offs. They're tools. And in this new financial system, the system is being built on ISO 222, and only useful tools will survive. So I'm going to try my best to show you how each token is actually being integrated into this financial upgrade. So let's start off with XRP, right? XRP is built to settle money very quickly. Okay, it's not a maybe. It's not, oh, maybe someday. Not if regulators approve. No, it already does. Okay, with ISO 222, we're gonna provide examples of how it's actually being integrated into this system. XRP was tested in the Bank of England's CBDC consultations. This is public information. This is all documented. You can look it up. The Bank of England ran some CBDC consultations, and they tested Ripple's technology. And they used the same structured data concepts as ISO 222. That's why this is a part of the discussion. So the same people, right, that are designing the new money rails looked at Ripple's technology. I actually want to share my screen for this. All right, where is this? Because I'm going to get into a little bit of the partnerships. Where is this? Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's behind me. It is behind me. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. So this is a Ripple partnership, and it's with four of some of the largest names that are certified processors within ISO 222. You have FIS, Volante, Temenos, and TCS BANCS. These are companies that basically handle payments for thousands of banks. And all of those companies are ISO 222 certified. Ripple is integrated in with them. So that means that banks can already upgrade to ISO 222, and they can plug Ripple's solution in with these banks. Please take a screenshot, research it, look it up, because these are definitely some partnerships to be paying attention to. Another reason why Ripple, proof that Ripple is integrated in with live ISO 222 is the Ripple payment corridors already operate inside of ISO 222 areas, right? When you look at RippleNet, it's already active in UK, the EU, Japan, Australia. All of these have prioritized upgrading the ISO 222 upgrade. Ripple basically sits at the top of some of the rails, and it's one of those rails that already speak ISO 222. So this does not guarantee that XRP becomes the chosen one, but it does show to us that the technology already fits inside of the new structure, and I think that that's what's important. Let's get a little bit more into XLM. All right, so Stellar is very similar, right? It's built for cheap, fast money movement. And it already fits inside of ISO rails. MoneyGram, right? Stellar and MoneyGram have a partnership, right? MoneyGram uses Stellar for global transfers of money, right? It's basically cash coming in and cash going out. That's basically what it's for. It's transfers. MoneyGram is huge, okay? They already move money to over 180 countries. And the way that they move that money, it is ISO 222 compliant, that network. So anytime that MoneyGram uses Stellar to move value, it uses ISO 222 processors to finalize that messages. Stellar is already bridging into the digital value on the ISO compliant systems. It's literally live usage. But what about when Stellar was used in the United Nations and the World Bank's pilots, right? The United Nations tested Stellar for aid distribution, and the World Bank referenced Stellar in a pilot. And all of those programs, whether it was the UN or the World Bank, they were programs that used ISO standardized data structures, basically to make sure that all of the transactions were traceable. Again, it's another example where it was real institutions, real programs that already are ISO aligned. What about the stablecoin USDC on Stellar? Right? USDC is basically programmable digital dollars. And ISO 222 is financial messages. They fit perfectly together. That's why Stellar has seen a lot of adoption for remittances or CBDC projects. Somebody says XDC. Let's get into XDC, right? Trade finance is basically the flow of global commerce. That's as simply as it is. And global commerce is moving into ISO 222 messages. XDC is designed to fit into that world perfectly. So what about some examples for XDC? Well, XDC was one of the first blockchains to implement ISO 222 messages. Not ISO friendly, but ISO native, meaning that they built it from the foundation up. That means that the trade documents that are created on XDC can already plug directly into ISO messages. And that's fucking huge because trade finance needs standards. They need standards so that the data can move and integrate in with any other type of industry. What about when XDC was used in the ITFA and trade Finex pilots? The IFTA stands for the International Trade and Fortifying Association or something like that. It's basically a global trade organization. And they tested XDC to see if it can work for tokenizing trade documents, aligning the messages together, and reducing settlement times. And it worked. They aligned with the messages with the format of ISO 222. Those are real institutions testing. It's not rumors. No. These pilots were proven. You can look it up. What about the banks that map XDC into the ISO messages already? XDC isn't here to replace the banks. It's here to digitize the friction points of the banks. Hedera HBAR, right? Hedera HBAR is used by a lot of institutions because at the fundamentals, Hedera is fast, it's cheap, it's enterprise grade, and it has a governing council that is full of ISO giants in there. Now, you have Shinhan Bank and Standard Bank. They tested stablecoins on Hedera. Those banks are already ISO aligned. Those banks are already ISO connected. And they were using the stablecoins for a cross-border pilot. And I think that they chose Hedera because of its speed, and that Hedera, in essence, the network is ISO compatible, right? So it worked out. These banks wouldn't be testing if they could do cross-border pilots on a network that can't comply with the new system that's coming in. And then we go into Hedera's governing council, right? These are companies that are already ISO aligned. They have to comply with ISO. You have IBM, Standard Chartered in there. They're not small companies. These are not regular companies. These are payment processors. They're some of them are digital identity companies. Some of them are custodians. All of those have to comply with ISO 222. They're not building on a network that cannot comply with this new mandate that's coming in. And tokenization on HBAR is growing. It's ramping up. Hedera is one of those assets that really kind of does everything. You know, they've seen a success over a wide variety of everything that they've done. Let's get into Quant, right? QNT. Quant is not out here competing with other blockchains, as some people like to think. It's not competing with Chainlink. It's not competing with Axelar. What it's doing is it's connecting them. It's one of those things that if you look deep enough, there's massive adoption going on with Quant. Quant was used from the Bank of International Settlements and the Bank of England within Project Rosalind. So Project Rosalind was an experiment to see if they can use CBDCs via APIs that can connect everything. And Project Rosalind, proven, uses ISO messages. And Quant was there, involved in that project to kind of build the middle layer. What about Quant, how it connects to the ISO 222 APIs, right? Overledger, which is really the cream of the crop for Quant, it's there to connect the old legacy systems, right? Your banking giants. It's there to connect ISO 222 messages, and it's there to connect blockchain messages in one linear line, right? That is true interoperability. The old system with the messages to the new system. It's there. It's connecting it all. Look at some of the partnerships that Quant has partnered up with, right? You have Nexi, SIA, LackChain. These are regulated players, and they're huge. A lot of them doing CBDCs as well. They're not. These are not. I give you examples of all the partnerships or the people integrating in with it. These corporations, these governments, these central banks, they're not touching the technology unless the technology fits in with the compliance. They're not. And I'm not telling you that these tokens are going to win because of ISO 222. I'm showing you that these tokens already touch the rails that the world is upgrading to. And that's why this matters. Not because ISO certifies them, which we know ISO does not certify coins because that's not how that works. But they matter. They matter because the technology fits into the new system that they're integrating in. When we start to think about what is actually going on online right now, when you look at page to page, X to X, Twitter panels to Twitter panels, TikTok panels to TikTok panels. Everybody is arguing right now, right? People are getting emotional. This is when the trolls come out. This is where people start misunderstanding how this technology actually gets implemented in. So ISO 222 does not automatically pump any crypto. Let's get that out of the way. All right. There is no magic button. There's no automatic price switch. There's no activation date that's going to turn some of these coins into millions. And anyone who says that doesn't actually understand how the financial infrastructure actually works. ISO 222 is a messaging standard. Very simple. Crypto is comprised of digital assets and settlement rails, right? The two very different things. They solve two different jobs. A messaging standard does not create price by itself. Okay? You got that? But this is where things will get interesting. We know ISO 222 doesn't pump a token on its own, okay? But what it does is it opens the door. It opens the door for financial highways, some of the largest traditional financial infrastructures to move money on. And I mean big money, like trillions of dollars every single day. So ISO 222 is the gate, all right? Your DLT technology or your blockchains is the car, right? Your utility tokens is the fucking gasoline. Without the gasoline, there's no movement. Right? People like to say, "Oh, well, they don't need this asset, or they don't need that asset." Without the gasoline, there's no movement of money. Without the cars, the infrastructure or the highway is completely useless. And without the gate, nobody is actually getting into the system. ISO 222 is the actual gate, and it's allowing digital assets to plug into them directly. So if a token cannot match the gate, if it cannot comply with the gate, it's never going to get in. It'll always stay outside of that gate. If any token, if a token can match the gate or can access into the highway, then it opens the door for that adoption to come in. And when you enter that system where trillions of dollars move every single day, that's when you're really going to start to see a lot of these utility assets start to ramp up, because that's when utilization comes in. Remember, it's usage equals volume, and that equals, I guess the flow of money. At the very simplest point, utility, right, is a token that solves a real world problem, and that's what we try to focus on. The usage of it is institutions actually using it. And the volume is when the system starts to flow money or liquidity through it. That's going to create demand. That will create demand without a doubt. People are going to need it to settle payments, maybe move value or lock collateral or tokenize an asset. The demand is, guys, this is simple economics. The demand is what creates pressure in the price, right? The real usage will create value, and that's how the markets are actually working. Where this is the infrastructure that we're discussing. ISO 222 in and of its own is not going to make the price go up. But what it does do is it gives the token access to the places where the money actually is. It's like opening up the door, like a door to a stadium, you know? And in that stadium there's pools of liquidity. Most cryptos won't fit in. Most cryptos never will. Most cryptos from day one were not built for compliance or structured messaging or institutional reporting, I guess. None of them. But the ones that we are focusing on, XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, QNT, Algorand, IOTA, they do fit into this financial structure. Not because ISO picked them, but because their design, their infrastructure, their network already aligns with what ISO requires. So being ISO compliant doesn't guarantee the price is going to go up. But what it does guarantee is that the assets will be, I want to say can. The assets can be used inside of the system that will move trillions of dollars. And that alone separates those assets from 99% of the market. I believe Cardano is as well. Not every crypto can do that. All right. So if banks want to use XRP for FX settlements, the demand is going to increase. XRP is needed to move value across borders. If remittance companies want to use XLM, the demand increases. XLM could become the asset that moves money between countries very cheaply. If trade finance wants to digitize documentation on XDC, guess what? The demand increases. The trade documents, I believe some of them are still done by paper, if I'm not incorrect. If the tokenization on Hedera continues to grow, then HBAR is the network fee that creates demand. If interoperability becomes essential, and we've already proven that through BIS and International Monetary Fund and World Economic Forum documents, but if interoperability becomes required, which of course it does because there's no settlement without interoperability, then demand for QNT, demand for Chainlink would increase. Overledger, right, Quant's main, I guess, service, right, their main software that they provide, it needs QNT as a license token. People have to pay a licensing fee in QNT to operate on Overledger. The more the network is used, the more the native token can gain demand. It's pretty logical. I don't understand why people think that as people start to come onto these networks, that doesn't necessarily mean the price will increase. So what crypto is allowing ISO 222 to do is it's gaining access, right? It's really kind of the pinpoint or the gateway of who has access to the new financial rails, who can plug into them, who can be used for settlement, right? Who can be utilized and adopted within ISO 222 messages. Because guess what? That's where the fucking money's going to move. And Hopefully right now you're following me. You're keeping up with me. You understand what I'm talking about, because 99% of people have no fucking idea. This is your advantage. This is your edge. And this is why you're here early. So ISO 222 is really where everything starts to kind of come together. So now that you understand what ISO 222 is, you understand how it's upgrading the financial system, you understand how utility tokens can fit into that new system, and how access means more usage, means more demand, means more price action. We're going to talk about why institutions need the technology. The institutions need the technology because this is where the banks can't actually upgrade anything. Well, not say that they can't. The banks are very slow moving, right? They don't typically upgrade any internal processing unless they're forced to. That's why they haven't done it in 50 years. Or unless it's something that makes them money. Of course, everything is about money. That's really the whole mindset of traditional finance. Unless you force me to do something or we can benefit from this, there's no reason to change anything. The banks are not the innovators, right? Banks don't adopt new technology because it's cool. The banks kind of hate change. You know what I'm saying? They don't like risk. They try to hold on to the old systems until the last possible minute. And I think that even with ISO 222 coming in, I think that they said like 82% of banks will comply with it. So where is that other 18%? You know, where are they? But this is the first time that banks are upgrading their messaging standard in decades. The institutions are upgrading it simply because they're forced to. But they also benefit from them as well. They make everything much quicker. They make everything more transparent. They make everything more accessible. That interoperability, that reconciliation layer, all of that. It's all relevant. This is one of those moments where you're going to witness a huge influx of money coming into a system that you probably saw from the beginning. And if you haven't seen it from the beginning, then I don't really know how else to word it to you. I don't know how else to put it to you guys. This is going to be fucking huge. This is going to be a system where trillions of dollars are going to flow in. Trillions of dollars are going to flow in. It's either you see it or you don't. And the assets that will be able to plug into it, those are going to be the ones that will possibly have the door for adoption. There really is no other way around it. Now, when you look at why these technologies want to upgrade into the system, it's because they're going to make money on it, right? It's going to save them money. They're going to save money between the manual manpower that they need to check the ledgers, to see if it matches with this one, to see if it matches with that one. There's a lot of reasons why, but this is a mandate, ladies and gentlemen. They're forcing them to upgrade this system. Forcing them. We've seen it. We've seen it from day one. From day one, we saw the mandate coming, and they extended it out a couple of times. But tomorrow everything is changing with it. This is not the same crypto market that you thought it was. It's not. This is not the meme coin era. This is not the maybe I can get rich quick. Those days are gone. Those days are absolutely gone. You got ETFs coming in. You got regulations coming in. You got CBDCs growing. You got stable coins growing. Every indication is showing us that institutions are coming in, and this market is changing. And you know what? It benefits us to some degree, right? Your paychecks will settle instantly. Your FX transfers or your cross-border settlements, all of those, you may notice money moving faster, but it benefits the banks the most. I mean, let's be honest. This is like infrastructure we're talking about. Every single pain point that the banks have been experiencing, it gets solved with ISO 222 and digital assets. And blockchain is the enabler of it, right? If ISO 222 allows banks to communicate and speak and exchange financial messages with each other, then the blockchain is what's enabling the value to move. ISO is the messaging, blockchain is the actual settlement. And together, they're fucking changing global finance. You should be trying to figure out what assets can actually fit into this infrastructure. This is the direction the entire system is going. You can try to ignore it as much as you want. There is no stopping this. When we start to talk about tokenized assets, or stablecoins, or CBDCs, or cross-border payments, or digital identity, or how about AI integrating in with it? That's something that blockchain is going to upgrade and enable, right? If a bank wants cheaper and faster payments, blockchain solves that. If a bank wants real-time tracking and accessibility to the data, ISO 222 can provide those messages. If a bank wants better liquidity, on-demand settlement will fix that. If a bank wants to tokenize assets, whatever DLT platform that can offer that solution, it's DLT. It's the blockchain that can do it. If a bank wants to expand its global outreach, the interoperability, Quant, Chainlink, Axelar, the interoperability layers can open that door for them. The old system, the MT systems can't do that. They just can't. This is truly where everything starts to come in. If the old system, the MT system, tried to do that, it wouldn't be able to scale. It would break, it would crash, it would cause delays, and it fails. But you know what? The new system, ISO 222, has been around and been testing since 2004. They've been studying this shit for 20 fucking years. This new system is going to fix all of that. And it's coming, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. When that old financial system and the new system and the new digital world finally come together, this is where institutional adoption is going to fucking thrive. It's going to thrive. This is where blockchains that solve real utility is going to thrive in. This is where trillions of dollars of asset settlements is going to flow onto digital rails. And you know what? The institutions have already tested about the technology. They've already tested the technology, right? XRP, Ripple, tested by the Bank of England. You have Stellar, XLM, used by MoneyGram and the United Nations. XDC, the ITFA trade pilots. Hedera, stablecoin tests. Quant, Project Rosalind. These are documented events. You can almost do your homework and predict which ones are going to survive, which ones are going to be included in this new financial system. So that's why I don't really give a fuck about the short-term price action. I can hang out and really just remain calm during these crashes, because you know what? Every time the market dips and people start to panic because they think crypto is over, it's silly. It's not. Things are changing. This isn't 2017. This isn't 2020. This isn't buy a coin and hope that it moons. We're moving into the infrastructure layer. And the entire system is being rebuilt in front of your eyes, and only a few people fucking see it. It's almost like I feel crazy. You know, it's like you see this vision that the market isn't quite there yet, but you know it's coming because the ITFA says it, because the BIS says it, because the World Economic Forum says it, because SWIFT says it, because the DTCC says it. Most of these people don't even know what the fuck they are. And when you're paying attention to what the global infrastructure stack is saying about where we're going, you don't panic. You're not selling early. That's why you find your conviction. That's why you decide I got in early and I'm going to hold it, because that's really how you win. And one thing that I'm going to share my screen again. One thing that I would really like to get into is this. I think everyone has seen it, right? ISO 222 cryptocurrencies. and this is a big misconception. This is something that triggers a lot of arguments on social media, because anytime someone talks about ISO 222, compliant tokens, they talk about utility rails, institutional usage, there's always that one moron who runs to Google, finds the ISO 222 frequently asked questions, screenshots it, and says, see, no cryptocurrencies are compliant. And they walk away thinking that they debunked this entire conversation. But the truth of it is I'm going to make this so stupidly simple that anytime someone says it, just fucking laugh at them. Okay? Let me break this down for you guys. Does ISO 222 are there any cryptocurrencies that are compliant with ISO 222? Cryptocurrencies are not inherently, let me zoom in for you guys. Cryptocurrencies are not ISO 222 compliant. ISO 222 does not certify cryptocurrencies. Yeah. That's true. That's true. That's correct. The frequently asked questions page is not wrong. You read that properly. You absolutely got that. The cryptocurrencies are not managed and not registered by ISO 222. Yep. You absolutely got that one right. Okay? ISO 222. You know what else ISO 222 doesn't certify? It doesn't certify banks either. It doesn't certify FedNow. ISO 222 certainly doesn't certify Ripple, Stellar, XDC, Hedera, or Quant. ISO 222 does not certify any technology or any asset. ISO 222 is a messaging system. It's a messaging standard. It's not a stamp of approval. It's not an award. It's not a club you could pay to join. It's not a certificate. It's not a list of chosen winners. ISO 222 does not say you're approved, you're rejected, you're allowed, you're not allowed. It's not even close to what ISO does. Not even close at all. So, yeah, you know what? You're right, but you're only looking at half of it. When someone screenshots this, the frequently asked questions, thinking that they exposed something, you're right, they did expose something. They exposed that they have no idea how the fucking infrastructure actually works. They exposed that they didn't actually study how cryptocurrencies actually function within the infrastructure that they're pretending to understand. What they exposed is their lack of knowledge. Okay? So, let's go into the one right below it. I don't know how they seem to never click on this one. Can I indicate cryptocurrencies into the ISO 222 messages? Oh, would you look at that? Yes. Cryptocurrencies can be transported as data in the ISO 222, but are not validated. Today's fiats, euro, US dollar, etc., are used in the messages and validated against ISO 4217. Cryptocurrency validations will be implemented in a future version of ISO 222 messages. So, in order to truly break down what this actually means, you gotta. It's a box within a box. You have to understand what ISO 4217 is. Basically, it's recognized currencies, US dollar, euro. Before we jump into ISO 4217, let's fucking make sure you understand one ISO standard before we jump into another one. But yes, cryptocurrencies can be transported as data in ISO 222 messages. ISO 222 tells the financial system how to structure the messages. It doesn't tell them who can use them. It doesn't tell them how they can use. It doesn't tell them what they can use. That's the whole misunderstanding. ISO gives you format, structure, the model that you have to comply with when you want to send those the messages, and the rules for the interoperability. ISO has nothing to do with which tools, what platforms, what rails, what assets plug into the infrastructure. It doesn't have a list of approval. But yes, when we say ISO 222 compliant compliant coins. We're not talking about compliant, right? Their argument wants to focus on the word compliant. When we say ISO 222 compliant coins, we're focusing on this. Can I indicate crypto messages in ISO 222? Meaning, can the digital assets actually function within ISO 222? Can a blockchain company be ISO compliant? Yes. Well, why can they be compliant? Well, it's because they're networks. The payment networks. It's the infrastructure is what's compliant. And can the assets that live on that infrastructure be utilized within ISO 222 messages? Of course they can. Right on their fucking website. Anytime someone wants to show you this frequently asked questions, they're only going to show you this one. And they don't think that these two are relevant. So, yeah, they got you. They exposed something. They exposed how lazy they are or how stupid they fucking are. Does that make sense? I don't know how else to put it. The institutions don't give a fuck about the frequently asked question FAQ pages. What they care about is, does it actually work? And how does it work? Is it compatible? Is it compliant? Does it have regulatory approval? So let's prove it. Right? FedNow uses ISO 222. Yes or no? And does FedNow work with API-based digital assets and stablecoins? Yes or no? Of course it does. What about Fedwire? Fedwire is migrating to ISO 222? Yes or no? Can they plug DLT in via the gateways? Yes or no? Of course they can. Swift requires ISO 222. Yes or no? And is Swift testing blockchain settlement? Yes or no? What about the Bank of England testing CBDC interoperability and connectiveness? Yes or no? Is the Bank of England testing CBDC interoperability? Yes or no? Of course they are. Does the Bank of England CBDC messages use ISO style messages? Of course it does. Does MoneyGram use ISO 222 processors? Yes or no? And does Stellar move value through MoneyGram's system? Yes or no? The UN and the World Bank tested Stellar in ISO 222 flows. Yes or no? What about the ITFA, right? Running trade pilots on XDC. Did they use ISO aligned messages? Yes or no? Hedera stablecoins, right? Testing. Hedera stablecoins being tested. Does that connect to ISO rails? Yes or no? Of course it does. What about Ripple's partnerships? FIS, Volante, Temenos, and TCS. Are those certified ISO processors? Yes or no? None of these institutions care what the fucking FAQs say. Because there is no crypto certification. There is no ISO certification. It's not a thing for assets. It's like arguing. Is your car certified to drive on the highway? What the fuck are you talking about? That's really where the dead end comes. If someone runs to the FAQ page trying to debunk it, you're exposing that you've never studied infrastructure a day in your fucking life. ISO doesn't pick the winners. The institutions choose the rails and the settlement assets that they want to utilize. ISO is a rule book. It's a rule book. The banks, the financial market infrastructures, the central banks, the governments, they choose the players. They choose the rails that they want to utilize. Ripple, Stellar, Zinfin, Hedera, Quant. Not because they were approved, because they were used, because they were tested, because they were integrated, because they were explored, because they were stress tested, because they connect to ISO rails through the partnerships. Not the fucking FAQ page. It's silly. If someone ever pulls this out, come on now. Price dips, guys, price dips should not scare you. When you understand the difference between the standard, the system, the usage, the rails, the integrations, the messaging, the settlement, when you understand the real infrastructure, there's nobody that could shake you out of your bags. There's nobody that could shake you out of your bags. That will be the dividing line between someone who panics and someone who profits. Someone who is a winner and someone who's a loser. Someone who chose a failing asset that couldn't survive regulations, it couldn't survive compliance, versus someone who, I'm going to hold an asset that's going to go, that's hopefully going to go up and up and up and be utilized more and more year after year. When you understand the infrastructure, you can't fall for surface level arguments. You know, these headline hamsters. That's what they are. They're headline hamsters. When you understand the foundation, it's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. Most cryptocurrencies never will be used in this new financial system. You're going to get that across your fucking head. Most cryptocurrencies never will be used in this new financial system. Not because they're bad, not because there's not a big enough, army behind it, not because the technology sucks, but simply because they weren't built for compliance or built in order for them to have structure with financial messaging. They're not. Most of them won't survive. When how do I explain this? There is two categories because people say, oh, well, Farcoin's ISO. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's basically two types of categories when it comes to ISO cryptocurrencies. All right. You have something called a referenced asset and something called a settlement asset. And that is what's going to separate the winners from the losers. So referenced assets are cryptos, right? It's really any coin. It's really any coin. Any coin, yes, any coin can be mentioned inside of financial systems. That's true. They could be referenced inside of the financial systems, but not used to settle anything. So examples of something being referenced within ISO 222 would be like the price feeds for Bitcoin, or like Ethereum price feeds, or wrapped tokens, or Chainlink's oracles, or indexes. All of those can be referenced. It's kind of like in the messages, it's saying like, hey, here's the price of Bitcoin. Here's the yield of Ethereum staking. Here's the value of this portfolio. Yeah, they could be referenced. That absolutely can be financial messages. But the referencing does not move money. It does not settle payments. It does not clear any trades. It does not run within compliant networks. It's information, very simply. It's messages. It's information. Sure, it could be referenced in ISO 222 messages, but it's not the infrastructure. It's like being in the Coliseum, right? Your referenced cryptos are people in the stands. But your settlement assets are the fucking gladiators down on the in the dirt. The referenced cryptos are like they're sitting in the stands watching while the entire game is being played. Now, when you get into settlement assets, okay, those are the ones that are going to move value. Those are the ones that plug into financial rails. Those are the ones that banks can use for FX, instant settlement, liquidity, tokenization, cross-border payments, trade finance, corporate flows. Yeah, that's the use case. Of course, you know what assets are use cases for that. You should. If you don't, try to look it up. Try to figure that out. those assets that will be used for instant settlement, FX, liquidity, tokenization, cross-border payments, trade finance, they share something very similar, right? All of those assets, they have to be fast. They have to be cheap. They have to be able to scale. They have to be compliant. They have to be able to support data. They have to match ISO 222 structures. They have to connect to different payment processors. When you find a crypto that can do that, that is a much harder checklist to get. And you know what? Most cryptos can't. Most cryptos can't scale. Most cryptos can't be compliant. Most cryptos can't support the data. Most cryptos can't support ISO 222 structures. Most cryptos can't connect to payment processors. But only a handful of them can. Only a handful of them actually connect in. XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, QNT, Algorand, IOTA. The ISO coins. Not because they're chosen, but because their design, their foundation, matches the needs of the new rails, matches the needs of this new financial system. You want to know why most coins will never be used by banks? Because they were never built for compliance. That's why I say regulations and compliance is gonna dictate winners and losers. Most coins don't have a KYC structure. They don't have AML structures. They don't have data feeds or any kind of reporting or any messaging standards. If they don't have that, a bank can't touch it. They can't. They cannot touch it. Most of the coins aren't designed for structured messaging. Right? We know ISO 222 enriches the data. Okay. But most blockchains can't actually handle that. Most blockchains that you look at, their settlement, their finality is slow. Banks can't wait minutes or hours for settlement when you have assets that settle in fucking seconds. They're not waiting hours. They're not going from T plus T1, T2, T3 to fucking T hour 6. They're not doing that. All right? The technology is already out there that exists. What about the ones where the fees are too high? Or the fees are unpredictable? How do you run a trillion? How do you run a trillion? How do you settle trillions of dollars every single day with random gas fees? You think that's going to have longevity? You think that's going to be? Oh my God! What about the way that the blockchain was designed? Right? Institutions need reliability. Solana. Institutions need consistency. Institutions need permissioned control. Private versus public network. Private versus public chains. Ledgers. You think most chains have reliability? You think most chains have consistency? Most of the chains can't comply with that either. How about most chains can't actually connect to legacy rails, legacy layers? The banks need bridges, APIs, gateways, ISO compliance. Most chains don't have that. How about most cryptocurrencies and chains don't actually have any real institutional testing? There's no pilots, there's no partnerships, there's no proof, there's no banking integration. You think they're just going to, we'll give a shot with this guy, even though we've never tested it. Well, fuck it. Put $5 trillion a day through that chain. We'll see how it works. Stop it. They've been testing this shit for years. The fact that most chains don't have real institutional testing disqualifies almost the entire market. That's why I believe that the winners in this space are going to be the ones that have the settlement layer. Most cryptos, yes, will be referenced. Here's the price of Bitcoin. Here's the Ethereum staking. Yeah, most of them will be referenced in ISO messages because there's data to send. The difference between winners and losers within ISO 222 is the reference and the settlement. Reference means you could talk about it. The settlement means that you can actually use it. The reference means you're outside of that gate. You're outside of the system. The settled assets means that you're inside of this fucking system. The reference means that it's fucking speculation. The settled means that it's actually being used for utility. And you want to know the difference between the two? Trillions of dollars. Trillions of fucking dollars. That's the difference between the two. If anybody tries to convince you that the utility or the settlement assets aren't relevant, they're missing trillions. They're missing fucking trillions. They want to focus on the retail narrative, the retail money. Where's the retail liquidity? Fuck that. You think retail's got trillions of dollars every single day to move? Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. Most people still think that this market is about hype and narratives and halving cycles and influencers and price charts. But what they don't understand is that the world is moving into a new, upgraded financial system where only a really tiny group of assets can do the jobs that the institutions need. How do I drill this into your head? And look at you, there's 140 people in here. You guys, you're studying the assets, the ones that actually function within this new system. I like to believe that that's why you guys are focused. That's why you guys aren't chasing the pumps. That's why you guys aren't following the crowds. That's why you're fucking different. Because most people are buying, hoping for a lottery ticket, and you're over here building a portfolio of fucking infrastructure that will only grow as there's more usage and adoption into it. So let's zoom out, okay? The real infrastructure that all of the pieces are actually building towards, right? Why ISO matters. Why is this upgrade happening? Why do only certain tokens actually fit into this? Why do institutions need the technology? Why do people misunderstand the frequently asked questions? Why will most cryptos never actually be able to get into the system? When you take a look at all of that and you zoom out, it's going to show you the next decade of global finance. I don't understand how you invest into a technology that can't comply with the new system. It's going to be left out along with the old system, the dying system. You might as well be holding fucking fiat at that point in your bank account. Today's financial system, it's slow money. It's slow. Tomorrow's financial system, it's fucking instant money. The Internet of Value will be able to move value at the speed that information travels across the internet. And some people are investing into the assets that they're not going to come into this new financial system. Look at where we're at right now between getting left behind and moving forward. We're still at a point, our financial system is 50 years old. We're still at a point where banking wires still take days. Payments get stuck. Settlement happens fucking days or hours later. Look, do you ever try to pull money out of the bank? Frozen. Liquidity's frozen. Trade finance, a lot of it's still done by fucking paper. That shit's ancient, bro. Corporate payments. I mean, come on. The new system, the ISO 222 system, the blockchain supported system, that's where everything becomes real. Blockchain is the enabler for this new financial system. Real-time messaging, real-time settlement, real-time liquidity, real-time compliance, real-time FX, real-time tracking. It's the biggest step forward in money since the fucking internet. And it's happening right now. You ever wonder why you have BlackRock, Citibank, HSBC, JP Morgan, the DTCC, Swift? They're all talking about the same fucking thing. Tokenization. Tokenization, guys, I'm going to catch you up. Tokenization really means taking real-world assets, gold or real estate or whatever, and you're turning that into a digital version. And they could take that value, thank you for the follow, and they can move it instantly. They can move it 24/7. They could prove who's moving it. And they could do all of that at a much, much cheaper price. Fractional ownership, exactly. I'll tell you where the future's going. Stocks are going to be tokenized. Bonds are going to be tokenized. Treasuries are going to be tokenized. Real estate's going to be tokenized. Commodities, bank deposits, money market funds, collateral, all tokenized. Everything will be a digital asset running on a digital rail. Don't you think you want to figure out what assets are enabling that? The old system can't move money fast enough. They weren't built for this type of activity. Very simply, but blockchains with ISO 222 can. And this is the new system. This is the new system. You should try to figure out what blockchains can actually plug into this new system. We're not moving into a one chain rules them all. We're moving into a system where tokenized assets can really be accessed anywhere. Stablecoins will run on different chains. Financial institutions are going to need to connect to everything. Banks will have the opportunity to move a multitude of different rails. CBDCs can run on different systems. The future winners in this space are going to go to the systems and the assets that can talk to all of that. Interoperability wins. Interoperability wins. If you can't communicate, it's fucking useless. That's why Overledger matters. That's why XRP Ledger Bridges matters. That's why Stellar's global reach matters. That XDC's trade messaging matters. Hedera's tokenization matters. Because those are the systems that do the jobs that the future is talking about. And you want to know what the biggest problem in global finance is today? Money stops moving on the weekends. Money stops moving at nights. Money stops moving on holidays. It stops during bank outages. It stops when liquidity can't actually reach anywhere. But this new system we're entering, the money's never going to stop. Because the chains don't turn off during holidays. Digital assets don't stop working. Blockchains don't close. ISO 222 messaging doesn't stop. Real-time settlement doesn't close on holidays. This is a world where wages, your paychecks, will settle in your bank account instantly. Where payments can move across borders in fucking seconds. Businesses can pay their suppliers like that. Banks can reconcile the ledgers with each other instantly. Compliance can be checked in real time. FX markets are never going to be frozen. Trade documents are never going to get lost. This is the architecture of the world that's being built right now. And most people think that the value of crypto is going to still come from hype and followers and influencers and cycles. It's not what this new system says. It's not what the BIS says. It's not what the IMF says. It's certainly not what the DTCC says or SWIFT. They're telling us that the value is going to come from volume. Daily volume, institutional volume, cross-border volume, treasury volume, tokenization volume, trade volume, CBDC volume, stablecoin volume, FX volume. You can have multitudes of different types of volume on one rail. On one rail. And when that new system settles money right away in the trillions in a scalable manner, that is when your utility tokens become the winners. The winners. The absolute winners. And if you don't have that visionary, that discipline to sit into something that's coming very soon, if you don't have that discipline to be patient and allow this to grow and mature, you're going to miss it. You're going to miss it. In the same way that you missed taxis going to Ubers or cash registers turning into Apple Pay. You're going to miss it from CDs going to streaming or mail, physical mail to email. It's just going to become a part of normal life. You're going to say, oh, Apple Pay's everywhere. Ubers are everywhere now. It'll just pop up. They won't even know that they're using the system. And that's the funniest part. But you will. You will, because you studied it. You saw it coming. You understood that there was architecture being hidden. That's your fucking edge. The people who study the infrastructure are going to win. I don't know how to tell it to you. Not the gamblers, not the hype chasers, not the moon boys, not the people who jump from coin to coin hoping to get rich quick. Get the fuck out of here. The people who are going to win are going to be the ones who understand the rails, the ones who understand compliance, the one who understands messaging, the one who understands settlement, the one who understands utility, the one who understands data, the one who understands why the system is upgrading. And that's you. You're early, you're prepared, you're informed, and you're positioned. And we're just starting. We're just starting. This is the part where I really just try to get you guys to understand where we are right now. You know, as you guys, your own educated investors, as someone who's been grinding, as someone who's been studying, someone who's been learning, someone who refuses to quit, even when the market tries to break you, this is where everything comes together. So we're going to finish it together, and we're going to finish it in the right way. Okay? Most people are never going to understand why you study what you study. Most people will never learn what you've learned. Most people will never look beyond the headlines. Most people will never understand the infrastructure. Most people will never realize how early we really are. You're not here because of luck. You're here because you chose to dig deeper than the narrative. You chose to dig deeper than the headlines. You chose to dig deeper while everyone else got distracted. You kept studying when everyone else got bored. You kept researching when everyone else chased candles. You kept paying attention to the things that actually matter. ISO 222, settlement rails, cross-border flows, payment processors, tokenization, liquidity layers, interoperability, DLT integration, the pilots, the institutional adoption, the infrastructure, the messaging. Let me tell you something. That is not normal behavior. That is a fucking elite mindset. That's not normal behavior to pay attention to those kinds of things. The people at your job, or if you talked about anything I just mentioned at Thanksgiving, their head would fall off. They'd be drooling on their fucking chicken thighs because they have no idea what the fuck you just said. Understand, if you got a little bit of what I'm talking about here, you have an elite mindset, and that's the mindset that's going to put you exactly where you need to be. The market tries to break you. You guys have watched crashes and all the FUD and all the fear and all the confusion and the fake narratives, the fucking possible manipulation, all of the lies the mainstream media has told you, all of the influencers fucking disappearing, people changing their beliefs, charts dipping, portfolios gone. And even after all of that, you're still here. You didn't fold, you didn't quit, you didn't walk away, you did not lose the vision. And because of that, you got stronger. You became a better educated investor. Every crash showed you exactly who you are. Because anyone can get excited when the market's pumping. Anyone can talk big when the market is green. But when everything is red, when everyone is scared, when you feel alone, when you feel doubtful, that's exactly when iron gets forged. That's when real winning takes place. That is why you're still here. That alone makes you different than 99% of people that are actually in this market. You didn't survive all of these years for nothing. You didn't study all of this infrastructure for nothing. You didn't learn about all of these rails for nothing. You didn't understand liquidity for nothing. You didn't follow the pilots for nothing. You didn't map out the utilities for nothing. You didn't watch the institutions move on chain for nothing. You are being prepared for one of the biggest shifts in financial history. And you can feel it. You know it's coming. That's why you're here. You're not here because of hype. You're not here because of price. You're not here because it's trending. There's something inside of you that knows the truth. We are stepping into a new financial era. And the people who understand the rails that will drive this new financial era forward are the ones who are going to dominate the next 50 years. The world is going to wake up to what you already know. People are going to wish that they knew what ISO 222 is. People are going to wish that they knew what blockchain was. People are going to wish what they knew, if they knew what interoperability was. They're going to wish they knew what tokenization was. They're going to wish they knew fucking JP Morgan, BlackRock, Citibank, Vanguard, Bank of America, Citibank. They're going to wish that they knew these institutions were adopting blockchain technology. They're going to wish they knew. But you fucking knew. Because you saw it happen. When everyone was laughing, when everyone mocked you, when everyone doubted, when everyone slept on you, you did your part. I want you to listen to what I'm saying to you very closely. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not lost. You're not unlucky. You're not foolish. You're early. You're aware. You're informed, you're positioned, and you're fucking ready. The world is about to enter into an entire new system that you've been studying for years. You understand how transformative that is, how powerful that is to have the edge, to front-run governments, to front-run institutions, to front-run central banks, to front-run Wall Street, to get into a technology before they did? You know how powerful that is? To hold the assets that actually matter. That is an advantage. This new financial system's not going to run on fucking moon boys or gamblers or hype traders or meme chasers. It's going to be run by the people who understand the rails, people who understand the standards, the messaging, the settlement, the liquidity, the compliance, the tokenization, the infrastructure, the architecture. That's who's going to win. And that's you. You're building the knowledge that the next decade is going to require. The next decade will run on. You're building conviction, and you're going to be rewarded for that. You're building a mindset, and you're going to be rewarded for that. Maybe that's why you feel different, these long-term investors. Maybe that's why you feel different, because you fucking are different. You understand the greatest transfer of wealth that's being built. You think people get wealthy from luck? Nope, not how that works. You want to know how most people get wealthy? It's from positioning themselves properly. It comes from being early. Being early to the new rules, being early to a new form of technology, a new investment, the new house on the block, before everyone else catches on, before everyone else reads about it in the newspaper. Right now, you're early. You're early. You're early to the only upgrade that every bank, every government, every institution, every payment rail on earth is making at the same time. You're early to the only upgrade that they all are forced to come onto. ISO 222. The moment that digital assets plug into those rails is the moment that your life changes. The day that it's going to be the day that the world goes from old money to new money. The old rails to the new rails. The old messaging to the new messaging. The old settlement to instant settlement. That is the moment that the people who studied the architecture win way bigger than anything you have ever imagined. You're fucking built for this moment. You're aligned for this transition. You're positioned for this transition. You're studying the correct rails, I believe, and you're holding the right conviction, I believe. And when the world finally realizes what this upgrade actually means, you would have had studied this for years. That is why you don't panic. That's why you can't get shaken out. That's why you don't lose faith. That's why you know what's coming. Something huge is coming. Tomorrow is a big day. It's a very big day. Doesn't necessarily mean price is going to take off tomorrow. But it's a big day. Something big is coming. Are you answering questions or just talking? I'm going to open it up. Let's open it up. I will open it up to questions. I'll open it up to anyone who wants to request to come on to the panel.